Dear viewers, thank you very much and thank you for joining us, share the broadcast. We were supposed to host John and Dolika, but based on the poor quality of the sound, the picture was good, the internet was good, but the quality of the sound, we just couldn't resolve it in time. And I think that I have always maintained that the difference with this broadcast is quality in thought, quality in analysis, quality in picture, quality in sound. Everything should be top notch. I think that's a standard I've set for myself. I don't want to subject my viewers to poor quality material. You cannot, in this day and age with this cost of living crisis, have a broadcast, that gives you poor quality. No, not at all. I have insisted I should not compromise. In fact, even the internet, despite the crisis in Zambia of load shedding, no power, I've always ensured that the broadcast for my special guests is top notch, is not affected in any way. So share the broadcast. We are rescheduling the Dolika, John and Dolika. This was supposed to be their debut together. We've spent the last 2 weeks, putting this together, and it's a pity that it has ended up this way. I hope that they can come back, and I've persuaded them that they should come back so that we do not have the glitches that we had. So I've turned now this to our usual, the People's Forum, where you can call, air your views about the state of the country, about the many issues affecting our country. You had, in the week, the president stoned in Chingola. Very unfortunate matter, but Chingola is a hotbed of issues. That is why the president got a lot of votes from Chingola. He swept both Chingola and Nchanga constituencies. Why? Because the disaffection, the dissatisfaction of the people of Chingola was at its highest on the Copper Belt. Just like Luansha, where the mine has never gotten to work for many years, and Luansha became a dead town. So Chingola was heading that way. They had an investor in KCM who engaged in terrible mining practices, terrible mining activities, terrible everything. The investor for 20 years didn't pay his taxes and accumulated a huge bill of $1.5 billion. President Hakainde Hichilema promised that he will deliver, he will resolve the issues of Chingola, but he didn't. As soon as he came into power, he raised down 326 votes. 326 houses. He also brought back KCM, a very, very difficult issue. So my line is open. You can call and air your views about things that happened in the week. So when the president decided to go to Chingola after that fire that swept Chiwempala Market, it clearly was a political risk. Even if he was going to bring his own voters, his own supporters, it still was a risk because they affected the living in the community. And then recently we had the mining pit, the youths that scavenge around those pits, removed in favor of a corporate entity, and that there was a $4 million payout that was going to be done. Again, that brought disaffection because it looked like the ministers who were running the drive were the ones then to have either themselves or their proxies to distribute that $4 million that they had agreed on. So that didn't go well. When the president came, they are saying he was stoned, booed by a few people. At least his security didn't take it lightly. They immediately evacuated the president. A riot ensued. He was evacuated and taken to Kitwe. In the afternoon, he appeared in the stadium. Again, that was a huge political risk for a president who's just been booed, stoned, And someone decided to still take him to the stadium, making a belief that this was an isolated incident. The disaffection on the Copper Belt is so high. They want to put it that the problems are simple, that it's Bali Belt, that they've resolved the issues of the mining crisis. What you saw in Chingola is a window of what is happening. Because if you look at KCM in Chingola, it has not resolved anything. Government has not told us how they will dismantle that $1.5 billion that is owed to ZESCO, CEC, NAPSA, and others. In fact, ZESCO was being persuaded to take up shareholding in KCM worth $800 million because KCM, Vedanta doesn't seem to have that money. What Vedanta has done is they've come here to New York. They are listing the assets of KCM. They want to get a loan of $1.5 billion. That hasn't worked. Last week they announced that they have now formed an American corporation. Why? Because as Vedanta as a foreign entity, they were having difficulties to raise from the stock exchange, which they can, but they failed to raise that money. So now they've formed a company that will now solicit for that money. And you and I ask, why should we let these assets be listed in New York? Even when Vedanta doesn't properly own them, the decision to remove Vedanta, I think, was the right one. But President Hakainde Hichilema broke his own promises, broke his own oath on the matter, and brought back KCM. 2 years on, and the matters are lingering. Let's go to Mopani. Mopani, similar issues. Look, Mopani, we all bemoan, is one of the most brand new mines in the world. One of the most invested mines in the world. $4.5 billion in a period of 5 years. They've just given it away. Mopani just needed $300 million to give it to its ZCCM management run at Mopani. And they were going to begin production, and the production was projected to rise within a period of 1 year to 2 years up to 200,000 metric tons. That could even have paid off their historical debts. But no, we got this asset, gave it to an entity that we don't know. They say it's a subsidiary of a sovereign fund in the United Arab Emirates, but it may not be because there hasn't been any accountability. And what did Mopani do immediately? They signed with IRIH. IRIH gave one of the easiest cash cow. Like if you are at a farm, Fidenko Koshtekela, that is your cash to run these cash on hand to run these small things. That is your cash on hand to run these small things. So we have a black mountain in Chidilabombo, in Mufurila, in Luansha. Those were immediately given to a company called Jubilee Metals, again associated with the president, because the chairperson is a business associate of the president. Copper Belt is dead. Of course, they're saying Lubambe is coming on, that, they're going to give some of those one of the largest copper reserves that they claim they found through AI. But if you look at our documents from 1956, that those copper reserves are listed from a long time. They are not even new. Even when they said they had used AI to discover these reserves, we all just laughed, because I even produced a 1956 report that shows the immense reserves that are on those cobalt mines that they want to have. So Copper Belt is a hotbed, but the president wants to take a bravado position that things are okay. Let me show you how the president handles himself. He believes he's doing very well. Where is that video? If there's any video that shows alternative reality, it is that video. Where is it? I'll get it for you. Where you can see that we are living in two alternative reality. Look at Dangote. He goes to Zimbabwe. He promises Zimbabwe $1 billion. He praises the president. He says, despite economic sanctions, the government of Mnangagwa is growing the economy at over 6%, despite sanctions. Here we are, at peace, no war. We have the worst load shedding crisis since the 60s, since we ever knew when. And Dangote told the president, Mr. President, you cannot have economic growth. You cannot have any form of growth without power. So what was he saying to President Hakainde Hichilema and Stumbeko Musokotwane, who were telling us that Zambia is posting economic growth of 6%? What does it tell us? Here Dangote, who deals with many African economies, some said he was very insensitive. The UPND called him is a UPND cadre because he told the president the truth. You cannot have economic growth without power. Mr. President, resolve your power. And he says you are talking about solar. Solar is not a solution. Many households have agreed who are experiencing this. When you have cover, you have shade, you have rain, you have no power. Power will just be stored for an hour or two. And then you have 21 hours of load shedding. So you don't have power to charge your batteries. And now there is a fuel shortage. You don't have diesel to run a genset. And there's no sun, so you're only charging for an hour or so, and you go into darkness. Oh, come on. So Dangote told the president, and I have stated here before, that the core reserves that are in Snazongwe and Mamba are predicted to be over worth $200 billion. And they can run another 200 years. And Dangote, I think it had to be at State House where someone tells the president, look, you are fishing in the air. You have Snazongwe, you have Mamba, set up thermal stations, 6, 7, 8 power stations there. You'll be a net exporter to the region. You satisfy the crisis you have. When you have good rainfall and you have good hydropower station, which is green, so it will account for your carbon footprint, because your current entire generation is by hydro. So it will account when you push in coal. It will account for your footprint. And he gave them an example of South Africa. South Africa produces over about 60,000, I think you can correct me in the comments, 60,000 megawatts of power. 60,000. Not if Ufowachita produced 3,500. 60,000 because of a nuclear power plant. Then they have these coal-fired plants across the country. They have very little hydro power stations. But Germany is importing coal from South Africa and is using more coal than South Africa is using to generate 60,000 megawatts of power. What does it tell us about these people telling us, go green, go green, go green? And Dangote rightly put it, the UK has reopened the coal mine. As they are telling us there's no money for coal. They're telling the banks not to finance any coal investment. They are reopening the coal mines like Germany did. They are giving fresh licenses for coal mining. If we have a natural asset seated in Snazongwe and Mamba, and we are spending billions in solar, which is not even reliable. Solar is only useful when your base load is okay. Any matter that you want to, let me open the phone lines. I wish to again apologize to John and Dolika. This was supposed to be a momentous debut. I'm very, very disappointed that we haven't had this program. We took time to prepare, prayed about it. It was supposed to be one of my best programs, but it has just been spoiled by poor sound. So I had good internet, I had good quality picture, but apparently the microphones did not behave. I don't know what the challenge was. And when we went to broadcast, I was not satisfied with the quality. We could have gone like that, but John was sounding like he's in a drum, he's drowning. Dolika, same. I said, that's not my standard. I think we have set a good standard for ourselves. It doesn't matter how remote you are, the quality of the broadcast must not be compromised. And I think this was their debut together. We were supposed to have a good discussion. And, well, so, dear callers, the lines are open. You can call for any matter that you want to discuss. Let's use this opportunity. To pick your views on any matter. Let me just switch on my lines and you can call whatever your contributions are. I had good questions for John and Robert, John and Dolika. I'm used, their partners, former partner with Robert Smeza. So John and Robert, this time is John and Dolika. So the Attorney General says you are lazy. That's why people are suffering, because they are lazy. They don't want to work. That's why we are suffering. That's what the Attorney General says. We are just a lazy bunch. Do you agree with him? Is he mocking us? The lines are open. The lines are open.
I'm also aware of the electricity problems that Zambia is facing. But despite the problems that we have with the supply of electricity in Zambia, you still supply us with electricity. Again, you would have said, we cannot sacrifice our power when we have shortage. But you still give us. Katima Mlilo town, where I come from here, is supplied with power from Zambia. When you have a power outage here, we also have power outage. But that's the brotherhood we are talking about, the neighborhood we're talking about. And we should only be grateful and continue to exist in this manner. You spoke also about the Vals-Bendola-Lubumbashi corridor. I want to tell Your Honor that that corridor was developed during our time. I was Permanent Secretary of Works and Transport, and my counterpart here was Judge Sichinga, Dominic.
The power issue, I think, is huge here, and colleagues, we continue to share everything. The issue of power, SC, when you are in a country like mine, when we have passed through a lot of load shedding, people say, oh, so you see, they are selling power to Namibia. This is a town in Namibia, very close to Zambia. We are talking of one-stop border, for example. And if you have one town with blackout...
You have come at a time when this government, since 2021, has worked hard, debt restructuring, to restore law and order in public places, to restore the mining sector. That's why you've seen the increase in the copper production, the kwacha stabilizing. That's why you saw Chisamba 100 megawatts on Monday. You've come at a time when the pump prices are going down because of the reforms in the energy sector. You've come at a time, post the drought, because of the push we're making for agricultural production. You have the largest maize production since independence. You've come at a time when we're pushing interest rates down. Inflation is coming down, fuel is coming down, food prices are coming down. You've come at a time when there's a convergence of macro variables which should lead to stability in this country to support growth.
President Ichilema, wonders shall never end. I didn't switch on my broadcast on my profile, but the others have been live. I'm so sorry to our dear audience, which is the main audience showing me on my personal page. I've just been live the last 10 minutes or so. Please share the broadcast. I was saying we are discussing the Chingola issue, the stoning, booing and chasing of the president. Was evacuated to safety by his security. And I was narrating, especially for the audience that is just joining me on my page. I was live everywhere else except on this page. I didn't realize that we didn't click the on button. It's been a difficult period. You have to understand, I had prominent guest leaders in our country, Dolika and John, had good internet, good camera, good pictures, but the audio was just terrible. And I have set standards for myself. I just had to apologize that I couldn't go on with the broadcast. We tried to resolve it, but I think the mood was spoiled. My guests were frustrated. I was frustrated that we're not resolving a small issue like that of volume. Podcasts. I have a podcast version of my video. And if you click on Apple Podcasts, EMV is now distributed. I'm on what is called Buzzsprout. I'm being distributed to over 30 international channels. I'm on Spotify. I'm on other channels that I don't even know. But Buzzsprout would then, circulate your podcast to everyone. So this is now a global channel. And I therefore could not allow for poor audio. And the bulk of it for the one that's distributed on Buzzsprout is an audio version. When you are in your car or at your office, you can get that podcast, an audio version. On Spotify, it's an audio version. So on podcasts, audio is king. Picture is complementary. So I cannot have good picture but bad sound. That's not a podcast. And as you have seen and as you have watched, even when we have echo, you all will be writing, Ambassador, there's too much echo. Why? Because podcast is about audio. So I apologize to John and Dolika that we had to end the broadcast because I think I don't know what happened with the equipment with the team back home, but we didn't get the audio very well. So I've now gone to what we call People's Forum on this channel, where you call, you contribute your views. The lines are open or they're already ringing. So call and make your contributions. This is your channel. What are your issues that you want to speak about? Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Hello, caller.
Yes, good day.
Good day. Thank you.
Yes. Can I call as anonymous?
Please, you are welcome.
Yes. This is just something I'm just bringing forward as someone who's in the health sector, who used to work in the health sector in Zambia during Lungu's time as a young doctor. And I even had the chance to even touch our great first president as a very, very young doctor at the time. And I actually commended him for that, in the sense that he wanted his own Zambians to touch him, which is actually very, very good. Something which I wish most leaders would follow, most of our Zambian leaders. But anyway, there are some things that hurt me as a Zambian citizen concerning the health sector. And I'm doing my postgraduate here in South Africa, and I'm seeing the differences, and it's very, very, it hurts me it hurts me a lot, especially seeing the pay gaps, and also just even the infrastructure and the hospitals now, the way they're getting dilapidated, and also there is no forward thinking in terms of improving even just how we diagnose infections and diseases in the country. We don't have, can I say, advanced equipment. And I think I remember I saw in an article last time, I think the army was given about $5 million to build a very nice, beautiful hospital, I think somewhere in Chalala and also in Central Africa Republic. But I don't know where that money went. And if we don't take health seriously as a nation, and I hope our leaders can get this in their heads, that health is actually better than wealth. And if they don't get it in their heads, that investing in health and any finance that comes into health.
Are you, Doc, are you unhappy that the conversations in our country don't seem to recognize the neglect and dilapidation that has occurred to our health institutions? Or is it a matter of policy? Is it just a shortage of medicine? What are you saying? Give us an overview. You are in South Africa, you are studying, and then you've been exposed to South African hospitals.
From what I've seen, I think it's leaders just don't want to listen. They are oblivious to what they have. I mean, for example, if you had, you're a Zambian citizen, and UTH, your mother is there, she's having a heart attack. You can imagine an intern will be sent to run around to look for a defibrillator just to come and shock your mother because she's in the wrong place. I mean, even ambulances to pick up a patient, when you compare the developed country and our country, it's really backward, and it has to do with a lot of things. Policy is one of them, but even just expertise. The ones who can direct, the ones who know the technical, the ones who know what to do are scared. They can't say anything. They are scared. And it's sad that they are scared because they depend on that little money which is being given to them. And they are trapped. Can I call it a mental trap? So they can't speak to those who are giving policy. So it's a bad cycle, so to say. So I think the leaders should just also learn to listen, especially to the educated ones, the ones who when they speak, don't batter them, because I'm a product of being chased because I spoke, and I used to work in the army. I was chased from I was chased because I spoke. I said, look, we can't be being delayed for a commission which the president can come do, because if you remember, there was an intake which delayed to get commission, and I was one of them. I said, look, I also have priorities. My medical career is also suffering, and this thing, the army and the way it's looking, where it's going, I had written a letter, look, to a very, very high official in the army, and it was taken badly. I was punished for that because maybe, yes, I did break protocol, but I think at some point you think about it, look, these people have overstayed. They are also specialists.
You know why I had brought John and Dolika here? Their statement is so profound because it says our systems are broken. And I wanted them to speak to that vision, because what you are seeing is everything is broken everywhere.
Yes.
So I agree with you. The health sector should be a priority, and we need to resolve not just the infrastructure, but also the policy, the delivery, the funding, and also the attitudes. You cannot have a health sector that doesn't have paramedics. Accidents. If you've been to an accident scene in Zambia, it's very, very sad. People are thrown in vans, in any nearby car. Limbi muntu na icheno mukoshi mwamuvula afye mwamuvika ine car to rush them to the hospital, even maybe aggravate the situation. So it is very sad. Thank you for that call, my brother. Thank you very much. Our first caller has bemoaned the health sector that is so broken, and our caller has said he is not hearing from our leaders enough views on how to resolve the crisis in the health sector. I was putting it to him that we seem to have a crisis in literally every sector. If you see the president boast, I just played his video where he's boasting that now things are on a proper trajectory. It's just not true. They can't be on a proper trajectory if your load shedding has become worse. You can't even stick to your own calendar. Even Dangote had to tell the president, Mr. President, there's no health, there's no growth in any economy without power.
The green one that they're talking about, which is, solar or wind, because you have the coal is there, and you should use it to generate your power. The power, they actually said that, Your Excellency, without power, there's no growth. No growth without power anywhere. And then when you have power, you will actually unleash growth in the country. When you do that, you talk less when you go out there to campaign to tell people what you've done, because they will see what it is. They will actually feel it. It's not like education where it takes several years before you can see the benefit of it. But this one, once you give power, it gives other things, opportunities, GDP growth, and it will give a lot of disposable income, just like what you mentioned, Your Excellency, saying that, yes, today in Zambia, you are using rain-fed agriculture. So rain-fed agriculture, it means that you are going to do one season. But right now, you go to countries where they are doing 3 crops per season. So if you are going to do 3 crops, it means that something like maize, which you are good at, you'll actually flood the entire African continent with maize. So, but right now, a lot of people, they're importing, maize, African countries. And one of the things that I have to also say, Your Excellency, is that being a landlocked, for example, is actually a big opportunity for you because you are surrounded by 9 countries. So when you do well, and I'm sure the time will come when there will be a race, Your Excellency, because your colleagues that surround you, the 9 of them, when they see how well you are doing, they too, so it will be a race to see who will do best. That is how they are able to grow, the economy of Asia, because it was a race. Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, yes, so somebody is saying, you look at Thailand, and when you look at Indonesia, for example, Indonesia, they've opened up their minds, everything, so even with all this, when you look at it, Indonesia's economy, people don't know, is bigger than Saudi Arabia's economy.
Dangote, they are telling the president, Mr. President, you can't have economic growth without power. Do you have anything to say about the Chingola issue? Do you have anything to say with UPND who stormed the party secretariat, stoned vehicles, damaged furniture in the PF and, beat people around? Do you have any view about the president's visit to Zimbabwe? I'm inviting you to this open forum. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Wamungongiava.
Mkwai. London po Wamungonge.
Ambassador, I will go on Kono Mahabati Nara and the Poponse.
Mkwai.
First question, Nara Shabushe, Avena Zambia. Nanomba Tabala Mono Quatamen, so I go to a government Java, Nabapanga, Churubota Sumina. Because Ambassador in a Chiran Kalipasa and I even Kiramonoko Bukira. Number 1, Chintuchin Kalipasana, Idio Chiro Church Tike. Before the Paraisa agreement, Yakovachi, Vasain Shanye, party our government, Neavash. First step of our government, why should it taking? All of them feel that we can take an hour for. Tavatu Eko Bunga and the Kumavo, Tavatu Eko Mashoya Chilishi. First step, why should it panga? I can send the body. But I never send the body. Now, I want to send the body. Our family was a command. How come I want to have a government? Bafia Shivers. Tibakana Shan Kuisa Mukutumon for today, Rosha Kuno, for Twikere, Gatulishan, Tibafi direct Shan Kumocha that was in the body. First mistake, you shall for Chika apologize. So, family has a Kamana, Kanska Twika Repanish, Takaba Show Queer, direct Kumocha, Kum send the body. No Tumakum Bikungan, Chirovantra, Pachiro, Valero, Shamu, send a Wawasa Kamana family, I can't tweak it to Ranshan if you have a Sakamana Takaba Pufiaso. Why Caravaran Shanya Vavi Toke? If we can she to Reisa, Lelo, we want to arise and Amona Frafini, na private. Fiance at Pecania to Araleta, Fiance Chiro Chiruma Coeno, but Mara to a fork of ye. Our current president, Abakasanga of Kumurungushi, Mukola Pokerera. Our president, one of our Mafiaro Fimbi. Lero, Padia Inste Akuroshavan to Agarasta point of viewing that Resumini Shokoevati, Valam Pepi. A talk him quite one for. One in the Cavalry Piranam Piashing Baravakam, one of them be once and above. Now, I will watch my people break 9 Kanya. ba bread life nishi tabarangirapo bali umfanefe barebe bakuri ba family atyo ba president tabafire bampe pina board atyoke mkwai baisa ku Zambia bali rondero ko batoko twafuma ifwe ba family batwe bati imwe bakateka tamwaka paramina ko mukabako fe pasande kumurupungushi mukabapokerera ama president oro mukabako imorombe insta ya board pali 2 days imwe tamwaka be pali board imwe board mwana fekora kumurungushiro mukarapokerera abanenu oro board ikara lyonze kumanda kuri family but baikara tondoro again basa panga program yabo no baba family basa kanya no muntu onse takuri kupokerera ku board bagadinga airport no abapana ba family fyonze abantu bakwalesa within the system government baba family atimu wikereshan ibode muleta kuno nafichinja ngamwaleta fye abashirikanyije bapoka takuri na bapati okupuna ngumwina Zambia oli onso kuba mu airport takuri kuri fya abantu bachitere invite ba family basakamana ko ali bapo kuchita abantu invite fwe bene bapode no ishwana bakabako basara ndatawo kanshita tuwaye ba government no randati okay fefo twachitire fefo twapangire fi mulando bako batware fo achabe finefi bashita igiro baikara tondoro second wa president basara ndati kanshukurosha kwapwa takuri onzo wakurosha ba family baingirira monomba twara chitashana bachafa watupoke bode twaranda tatwaiseko agenya tiyo yukurosha kwapwa ba family bashiranda tifuta para fa twara chita kanshi instawale tufwa ku Zambia twara shika fe kono kwini bale batamba bashita organize kushika fyonse bale batamba te akushika ba government bashita Simon kukoti fiona ke fintu but again atiyo bakara nomba ine nani firo ku understand nishi family ya rufyanya pantu wa government ya rufyanya nomba nishi apa babu afya ni pesa oro tu baba ke bizuru ababaisa wa government ya ngali bode ikare 5 months ngatwalishika kare make bizuru no istanga ali free ngali fe free umwe ne fini ali fwa yo kuchitashani kubiminina efere samu sosha baba ke bizuru baisa genyi bamba kwa mali akashati ewa ngati bode ikare nomane nde pushita kwa bena Zambia ushenishi chino charo chesuba mwamba bantu ine ichifyarirwa chanji nefe batu kushaba fyashibeso ubu fite umuntu wawe nomba bushe bonse aba mu government bushe bali batumo kuya kukosi yabo fino kukana before tabarambo ku ukulaninga government because ba PF bali mu government uwa kuri ba PF minister na ngwa ibe finto bonse to ale mfacho pali fyaiba na koti wa muntu wala na ngwa chitechiri chonse chara ishibati uyu minister wa PF na rufyanyifi nomba nishi bena baba le tuteka nishi bonse bale suminisha tabale seka ifire rubana badi bale chitikisha abantu abakairoro tu kadalism weba ile tereko PF yambiri akari basata bale tukanya takwari kadalism bale tupeba no kuchindika bana mayo twale chindika bana mayo mu party basata bali Kenya na Ligalia bajawa ba yupendi bali kweta mali gari kwamba na akari ama barret tu amwana bishema soja bakwisa bana ama boots no kwinya sana inshimbi no kuteberera sana ba PF badoro bayishire mpakuteko bayishubo kwe batebere bakadalism so twala chitashani katwanda kadalism yapwa badi kadalism tayapo hapo bamwe mbaine ababantu aba ndemyeba bakali bahabi.
Thank you, Wamunkonge. Thank you. Again, send the corner. Thank you, Wamunkonge. Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Hello, caller.
Hello. Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba.
Good evening.
Nine mkwai kuno kwa kaputa nami posha wonse.
And tamaya.
Mkwai. Chabi pata. Bombero tashachiba ubina tachukweti basangwa na batu likabanda. But still to totally all things work for good to them that love the Lord. Kanshi to like japafing to fingi if in a much na broaden platform. Ndevo kwipisha kwichintu chimo. Ama uteko nga yachi inja. Ifilu wofi monge ftungani mu PF. Kwishchapu pafing to fingi for valufyanya chimwe chon ichin nangu ndenda nemu inefe nemu individual so nda papa tibali shtisha matoke. Okay. Usho take obumbi obwingesa tete which the reverse human transactions no kweba the foreign companies that kwena chilubo cha the other grown government. Takwa bishya ishobushe. Elio ekintu kimbi. Twali munaba MP wa kuwengwa. Bali bamakaders baba UPND. Ati nachita declare kaderism kuwela. Mwe bantu bakwalesa na chine after nshikushibili na nkushitatu na ngubumofye yesterday bakada ba UPND baya ku PF secretariat nokutitefu bakitire nokuchena ba PF abayichefiri amayotse yanawo nombatapali abo beketepo bantu aba bali kata bwangu aba kuchingoloko tapala abo beketepo ba UPND bantu it's na obvious thing ba UPND ba mwetwa na bachitana condemn but after so many hours elo bule chokista condemn I thought it's kintu chikulu balishwa echalengelo buteko bwa PF buseni but abana bakwate filu bwefingi akaka kusonse kapofie uko MP ale yimini nokutira card reason to asuminisha nomba na declare so nga kwafu omuntu kirifye obwino kuti balesekela mofet bantu MP Westnaland efin takuli aba kuchikanye kintu kuchilanda kwati mwe bantu mwe bweshe kintu tapali otukato twalasangira pona ku populage twalasambira pona chala leta development eshiko chalo ama light tale yaka mu chalo mo na Dangote abena fyalo bashima kwewe yene n'abashiba economics yone twamfata ba president besoyo baberengere alebe ba mumenso tale bafita tale bamba so ama cadres ya UPND mwilala ndokwebati Dangote ni PF Dangote ngani PF ba president nga bali imwe bati niwe bo PF chiwashina mukunje befe but bayimirire fe bantu chishinka cyabasanga so twambo okusambira nomba economics yazo na kuli nani kumwina fyalo ulefu afyo kuleta investment mbafu ya foreign investors oyo Dangote amipera kuna ma ideas ya you can benefit talefu afyo kuleta foreign investor like abasungu bali efye fintu fyeso chuma baleya Dangote aletulangati apa amakwewe yonu tapali uko yakaya bantu tamkwete umulilo tamkwete amalaiti tamkwete olubuto tamakula munoko muleya tapali fe mwakula awo chana ngokwipika takulifinga ba reversed bushe
Mkwai, you're mine.
Natotela sana Mkwai.
Thank you, Mari, from Kaputa, all the way from Kaputa. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Sure, Ambassador, this is Mlenga.
Yes, Mlenga, please make your contributions.
Sure. Mine is about the visit by Dangote, and then, apart from Dangote visiting, there's this guy who visited the country from Zimbabwe. I think you wrote something about him. I happened to look into his life. And then when you go to his Facebook page, you'll find that this guy has been getting pictures with almost all the presidents in Africa. So I had a chat with one of my Zimbabwean colleagues. And also I had a chat with Opo Ochinono. I know you know Mr. Opo Ochinono.
Yes.
He's a journalist from Zimbabwe. Yeah. And he has been consistent posting about this guy. There's a day he posted to say that Zambia forget about a free and fair election. Now that this guy visited Zambia, and then Mr. Ichilema also had to go and visit Zimbabwe. He gave me a certain narrative that was a little bit alarming. He talked about the issue of ballot